Right now, some Madisonians are getting a bit of sticker shock after looking at their property taxes, while some of you are seeing a massive increase.
And the cold air is on the way. Single digits for highs, but it may feel like 30 degrees below zero when the Arctic air moves on out of here in the full forecast.
And later, jury selection begins ahead of the federal trial for the Milwaukee County Circuit Court judge accused of helping an immigrant evade ICE agents. And we welcome you to News 3 Now at 6. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. Today, people in Madison and Fitchburg are learning that they will be paying higher property taxes. Now, last year, voters overwhelmingly approved 2 referendums for the Madison School District at the cost of hundreds of millions of dollars.
But now that cost is having many people doing a bit of a double take after seeing just how much more they'll have to pay. Now, here's the breakdown of the numbers for what residents signed up for in last year's November election. People in Madison and Fitchburg, as we mentioned, saw 2 questions on their ballots. One asked for $507 million to renovate or replace 10 schools. The other asked for $100 million. That was to cover operating expenses.
These programs would be for 4K and early learning, multilingual education, middle school career exploration, and expanded extracurricular activities. Over 4 years, the average homeowner in Madison would be paying $3,800 more. Well, now Madison residents are speaking out after feeling the sticker shock.
And Tanasia Shaw spoke to a homeowner on the city's east side. And Tanasia, the person you spoke with saw a pretty significant increase here.
Hi, Eric and Sarah. Yeah, homeowner just found out that she'll have a $750 increase in her property taxes next year. And she doesn't mind paying more since it supports MMSD.
Wow, that's very different from last year.
That's Marina Witt's reaction after seeing her property tax bill this week.
I like to keep tabs on how much money I'm giving the city, right? And it's always an increase.
She became a homeowner in 2019, and she voted for the operational and facility referendums in November. Now, she has to pay an additional $750 next year.
It's a blessing that I can still put food on the table. The $750 is not keeping me from that. So I'm grateful that I can still do that, and the kids at the schools can get what they need.
Witz works for the Department of Public Instruction. She is willing to pay more to invest in Madison students.
It feels worth it to invest in my community for the kids that in this city that need good places to learn every day, that need resources and high-quality facilities.
Everyone does not agree with Witz, though. On News 3 Now's Facebook page, more than 100 people reacted to their property tax increase, leaving comments like, quote, "Mine go up every year. Eventually, people will be taxed out of their homes. I live in a half duplex and still pay an insane amount." Another person commented, quote, "Right now, the taxes on my house cost more per month than the original mortgage did 30 years ago. Taxes are now higher than the mortgage was." And a third person commented, quote, "Another $1,000 from last year. Retirement can't happen if I want to stay in my house."
I would say that there's no easier way to support your community in such a hyper-local way. You are investing in your community, and you're going to see the dividends pay out some way.
I also talked to a viewer off camera that said they won't even open up their property tax bill until next year because they do not want to ruin their holiday plans.
Oh boy, that's one way to look at it. Tanasia, thank you. So, with all this sticker shock, is there anything you can do to fight the property tax hike?
Arman Rahman went to a local realtor for that answer and has more from the district about residents' concerns.
So you took a look at your property tax bill this month and said, whoa, but regardless if you voted yes or no for the MMSD referendum, is there anything you can do to fight this?
I think anytime it goes up, there's a little bit of a shock.
Head broker for MHB Real Estate, Dan Tenney, says you can try to bring the cost of your home down, but he has not seen much success.
I know when homes get reassessed, they have the opportunity to talk with the city assessor and perhaps get an adjustment to what the home has been assessed at. But nothing's going to change with the mill rate. The mill rate is set as the multiplier for what the tax bill is going to be based on.
Finance staff with the district acknowledge that this is the highest year of the referendum tax hike for homeowners, but they say the district's hands are tied with how the state legislature funds schools or how it doesn't.
Over the last 15 years, the legislature has backed away from the state's commitment to share in the cost of local public schools. The result of that is for every less dollar in state aids to operate a local school, you have to increase your property taxes, and you can only do that if the voters vote yes, like the voters in Madison did. So it's It's a broken school finance system.
Soldner says 81% of MMSD's operating costs go to salaries and benefits for their 4,000 employees. And he says all of the facilities upgrades promised to voters on the referendum are on track.
All right, Armand, thank you. The district says what is going in the budget is publicly available online and summarized at school board meetings as well.
We'll continue to bring you coverage of voters' reaction to those property taxes throughout our evening newscast tonight. To receive alerts when our team coverage is about to air, simply download the free Channel 3000 mobile app. Calm conditions today. Some dangerously cold air, though, is on the way. Here's meteorologist Blaze Keller with your First Warn forecast.
That's right. It's been pretty calm throughout most of your Thursday. A little bit of some light snow beginning to move into southwestern parts of Crawford County, into southwestern parts of Grant County, scooting over Prairie du Chien, back south and east into Bloomington there. A little bit of flurry activity there in Buena Vista, right along the river there into Potosi. This is likely where we're going to continue to see a lot of that snow over the next several hours, leading to, in likely places, less than an inch. Maybe some flurries back into more of south central parts of Wisconsin. With some snow on the way on Friday, that's all ahead of the big cool down that we've been talking about, when temperatures will dip into the single digits and our wind chill values will range anywhere from about 20 to 30, 35 degrees below zero. Already northwestern parts of Wisconsin underneath a cold weather advisory until Saturday morning. This will likely become an extreme cold warning and will likely be underneath very similar weather alerts as we head throughout this weekend. Don't be shocked when you see them. They are just replacing wind chill alerts, which took effect in October of last year. We'll time out exactly when the cold air moves on in, when it moves on out, and when the 40s return, coming up in the full forecast.
All right, Blaze, thank you. The 21-year-old man accused of killing a woman in a crash on Madison's southwest side earlier this year is pleading guilty. Ryan Bertrand pleaded guilty to homicide by intoxicated use of a vehicle. He previously faced several other charges, but those have now been dismissed. A sentencing hearing is scheduled for February 20th. That crash happened back on March 6th near the intersection of South Gammon and Raymond Road. The criminal complaint alleges Bertrand was driving 55 to 60 miles per hour right before the crash. A 67-year-old woman died at the scene. 2 children were transported to a local hospital. They both sustained non-life-threatening injuries.
The 32-year-old Milwaukee woman accused of shooting and killing a woman from DeForest is headed to trial. Jamaica Mills is charged with first-degree reckless homicide with use of a dangerous weapon modifier. Mills is accused of shooting and killing 26-year-old Ariel Spillner on November 4th. During Mills' preliminary hearing Wednesday, a Milwaukee County court found probable cause, so she is scheduled for an arraignment January 9th. According to the criminal complaint in this case, police were called to an apartment where they found both Mills and Spillner with gunshot wounds. Spillner was pronounced dead at the scene. And according to the criminal complaint, the two were smoking marijuana when Mills became paranoid and thought Spillner was planning to stab her. The complaint says Mills walked into her bedroom and took the gun, shooting Spillner once. Mills then shot herself accidentally. She allegedly told police she did not mean to kill Spillner, but understands firearms can kill people.
A bicyclist is dead after a crash with a truck in Mineral Point this morning. That crash reported at about 5:45 along Dodge Street, just south of Commerce Street. Again, this is in Mineral Point. Bystanders were attempting life-saving measures on the cyclist when officers arrived. The cyclist, identified now as Garth Scheel of Mineral Point, was taken to Upland Hills Health in Dodgeville, where he later died. The truck driver, a 26-year-old Mineral Point man, stayed at the scene and cooperated with investigators.
Well, McFarland is promoting their interim police chief to the permanent position. Brian Redman is a retired lieutenant from McFarland Police who served from 2006 to 2020. He led as interim chief in 2010 and then again from late 2020 until his retirement in spring of 21. He suspended his retirement back in October of 24, and the McFarland Police and Fire Commission voted to promote Redman. His police certification was reinstated at the Wisconsin Law Enforcement Standards Board meeting December 2nd.
A jury has been selected in the high-stakes federal trial of Milwaukee judge Hannah Dugan. She's charged with helping an undocumented man escape ICE agents. In April, an undocumented man scheduled to appear in Judge Dugan's courtroom. When she found out ICE agents were outside, she confronted them and directed them to talk to the chief judge. Investigators say she then directed the man out of her courtroom. FBI agents arrested her a week later. The 14-person jury includes 9 men, 5 women, and the trial will start on Monday.
Well, another Democrat is announcing their candidacy for Wisconsin governor. Joel Brennan was a former top official in Governor Tony Evers' administration. He is now the president of the Greater Milwaukee Committee. Talking with the Associated Press, Brennan says he would be a governor who would both fight what he calls President Trump's chaos and dysfunction, and also he says he would plan to work across the aisle with Republicans in the state. He joins a crowded field on the Democrat side, but says he can differentiate himself with his 25 years of experience in the private sector and also as Evers' top aide for the first 3 years of that administration. Currently, there are more than 10 people in the Democratic primary. The biggest names are former Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes, current Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez, Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, State Representative Francesca Hong, State Senator Kelda Roys, and former State Economic Development Director Missy Hughes. Then on the Republican side, the field is significantly smaller. Just 2 people running: Washington County Executive Josh Schoemann and Congressman Tom Tiffany.
So to come at 6, the Wisconsin Department of Health Services issues its recommendation for the hepatitis B vaccine.
Plus, U.S. health officials are bracing for what's expected to be a rough respiratory virus season. We're back after this.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6.
Welcome back, everyone. The Wisconsin Department of Health Services is giving its recommendation for the hepatitis B vaccine, saying that it should be given within 24 hours of birth for all newborns. The guidance comes after a CDC advisory committee voted to change recommendations for when children should get this vaccine. Meanwhile, the state is aligning with recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics and other leading medical organizations.
It's a gift no one wants to give or get, but with travel and get-togethers this holiday season, respiratory viruses can be easily spread. It's already starting. Dr. David Hill with the American Lung Association says this winter there's expected to be a surge in cases of flu, COVID-19, and RSV. CDC officials believe this season will be similar to last, when the agency estimated at least 1 million people were hospitalized. More than 70,000 people died from respiratory virus illnesses. Those over the age of 65 are especially at risk from getting severely sick.
The flu and COVID tend to lead to higher hospitalization rates and higher deaths in that population. So getting vaccinated is really important for that group of people.
And this season, there's a new flu variant combined with lagging vaccinations and holiday travel on the way. There is a worry that things may look much worse in the weeks ahead.
With time running out to find a way to avoid health care costs jumping for millions of Americans, the Senate took up competing measures today from Democrats and Republicans to address the issue. The Democrats' proposal would have extended subsidies for 3 years, while the Republican measure instead pushed those funds into health saving accounts controlled by consumers. Both sides accused the other of playing politics, and both proposals failed on the floor. The votes come as Affordable Care Act tax credits are set to expire within weeks.
After today's vote, the American healthcare crisis is now 100% on Republican shoulders.
They don't really want to solve the problem. What they want is a political issue that they can run on in the upcoming election.
While lawmakers remain mostly divided along party lines, some senators expressed cautious optimism for a bipartisan path forward. But unless a last-minute deal is reached, more than 20 million Americans will face higher costs in the new year.
Still ahead, the holiday shipping deadlines are fast approaching when you need to send your packages to get them to their destinations on time.
And the popular Ice Age Trail is expanding once again. We'll tell you where and when we come back.
And Blaze returns, getting you ready for the Arctic winds that'll be blowing through southern Wisconsin yet this week. Stay with us.
You're watching News 3 Now at 6.
The popular Ice Age Trail is growing. Up to a mile will be added in the town of Barry, which is right outside of Cross Plains, in 2028. The Ice Age Trail Alliance says it acquired 100 acres of the village of Cross Plains Hickory Hill Conservancy. The Ice Age Swamp Lovers Preserve will be connected to the Conservancy, setting the stage for the new segment of the Ice Age National Scenic Trail.
Starting to get down to the wire if you need to send out those Christmas gifts. Postal Service says you need to send your packages by next Wednesday to get them delivered before the holiday. If you want to spend a bit extra, paying for Priority Mail will get you until next Thursday. Priority Mail Express 2 get you until next Saturday. But keep in mind, these are estimates, and it's always better to send those a little early. Some bitterly cold air heading towards southern Wisconsin. Blaze now again with your first warn forecast.
That's right. Our next round of Arctic air is on the way. We haven't had single-digit highs since mid-February in the Madison area. And now we're starting to ease into that Arctic air. It's moving on in likely later Friday, but we're getting a little taste of it now as wind chills still remain cold. But alert day conditions for the weekend as our Arctic air, which is in this general area off towards Yellowknife as well as Edmonton and Fort McPherson, will move its way southward. We're not going to see these negative 40 or 50 wind chill values, but this is where the Arctic air is now, and by Friday night, it's going to be over parts of the Midwest, further overhead by Saturday. This Arctic air is going to move in starting later Friday afternoon, and it's going to send our wind chills anywhere between 15 to about 25 degrees below zero, waking up Saturday. Saturday throughout the day, this is going to be the coldest over the weekend, not only in terms of air temperatures, but wind chill values. As we look towards Saturday afternoon, still feeling 10, 15, 20, in some spots 25 degrees below zero. Coupled with clear skies and breezy northwesterly winds Saturday night into Sunday, we have the making for our coldest morning, waking up Sunday morning, which is going to be when our wind chill values will be anywhere between 25 to 35 degrees below zero. And with our expected overnight lows and our winds out of the northwest, that's when we could see frostbite setting in within about 10 to 30 minutes. So limit your time, your pet's time outdoors. Cover up as much skin as possible, especially your fingertips, your nose, your lips, and your ears. That's where the skin is the thinnest and more susceptible to frostbite. Current wind chill values, warm compared to what we're going to feel this weekend. It still feels about anywhere, I would say, between 10 to 20 degrees above zero. And those wind chill values are going to continue to cool on down as we head overnight. Over the next 12 hours, we'll linger in those low teens by about the midnight hour, further slipping into those single digits as we go into the coolest point of the day, those early morning hours, before we eventually warm up going into your Friday afternoon. Still keeping with the mostly cloudy conditions to end the work week. There is some good news on the horizon. The weather pattern that has been keeping us cold since about Thanksgiving looks to be breaking down as we go to the next holiday, Christmas. We're starting to see about a 40 to 50% chance of being warmer than average as we get into that Christmas time frame. Hopefully not warm enough to melt all the snow and we don't have a white Christmas, but at least we're maybe saying goodbye to the stretch of cooler than normal air. Single digits on the weekend. By Wednesday of next week, we're in the 40s. We're almost multiplying our forecast high of 4 by 10 in the matter of days there. So it's just 2 days, but we can get through it.
I will take the lack of snow if we are.
Oh, no. You
I know, it's fine. I'm declaring this.
Uh-oh.
But you know who doesn't have to see snow? The Packers.
That's true.
They're heading to Colorado to take on the Denver Broncos Sunday. You'll be able to watch them right here on WIC TV. Kickoff is scheduled for 3:25 on Sunday.
Well, if there is snow in the mountains, it's going to melt. The temperatures that they're going to get. Nash is here with a look at sports.
Yeah, speaking of sports, coming up, Wisconsin women's volleyball hit the road for their Sweet 16 matchup tomorrow night. Plus, men's basketball looks to move on after a tough loss. All that and more next in sports. Wisconsin volleyball has swept their way through the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament. Wins over Eastern Illinois and North Carolina has landed Bucky a dance in the Sweet 16 for the 13th consecutive season. However, that dance will be held in some uncharted territory. The Badgers will step away from the UW Fieldhouse for the first time this tournament and travel to Austin, Texas, where they will take on Stanford as they look to play at their highest level.
When you get to this part of the season and just being able to be in the gym with a totally different energy with your players, there's just nothing like it. You know, we head down to Austin this week with 3 other teams that are having a great year. All 4 teams, I think, are playing their best volleyball at the end of the season. We've got a big time challenge in front of us, and Stanford a big time opportunity in front of us.
Staying in the neighborhood of the Badgers, we transition now to a different court with men's basketball. The tough loss on the road to Nebraska last night was a game to forget for Bucky. But this week's guest on the Wisconsin Huddle, Austin Rapp, shares a little behind the scenes of the Badgers' first few weeks and some of the things that he could see as the Badgers squad looked to be contenders come March.
Yeah, I mean, I think the early struggles is just, being such a new team, having so many new guys. And as you said, there's been times where I'm sure people are watching us and being like, wow, this team could be really good. I think the sky's the limit. Once we put it together for 40 minutes, we played a really good half against Northwestern last week where we had 15 assists, 0 turnovers. If we can keep that up for a full game, I think we'll be scary.
Speaking of, tune in at 6:30 right here at News 3 Now on Friday to watch Austin Rapp and Andrew Banstra on this week's episode of the Wisconsin Huddle. Baseball in this weather, well, kind of. It might be the off-season for Major League Baseball, but the Brew Crew are making some moves as they sign Akil Baddoo, a 27-year-old outfielder, to a one-year deal. Baddoo, a utility player, can play in all 3 spots at the deep ends of the field. A right-handed hitter also adds depth and some upside to an already proven Brewers lineup.
All right, Nash, thank you. Quick final check with Blaze.
Yes, we're expecting that cold weekend. Bundle up because it's going to be cold, but by Monday of next week, we're back into the 20s, 40s by Wednesday.
Just get through it. Thanks for joining us at 6. Entertainment Tonight is next.
And be sure to join us again for News 3 Now at 10 o'clock. And you can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.